They don't fear what you'll say. They fear that you say nothing. You think they want an answer, a reaction, a response. But they don't. They want rhythm, they want pattern, they want movement, so they know what to control. And when you go still, when you don't speak, when you don't fill the air, you don't disappear. You become pressure. Because silence, real, intentional silence, breaks the loop. It scrambles the script. It forces them to face their own narrative without interference. And most people can't handle that. They need your words to stay anchored. They need your tone to reset the frame. But when you stop giving them signals, you stop giving them power. You're not being passive. You're becoming signalless, and signalless becomes untouchable. That's not weakness, that's cold structure. Stillness isn't absence, it's pressure, compressed into silence. You were programmed to react, not to hold. You weren't trained to hold. You were trained to chase signals. Say something. Do something. Fix it. Soften it. Smooth it. Why? Because silence feels dangerous. Stillness feels like losing. And space feels like failure. From childhood, you were rewarded for reacting fast, for answering quickly, for not letting things hang. So now, when there's tension, you fill it. When there's a pause, you break it. When someone seems upset, you rush in with noise, not because it's helpful, but because it makes you feel like you're still in the game. But here's the truth. Reacting fast doesn't mean you're present. It just means you're scared of what happens if you stop moving. Because stillness exposes two things: your discomfort with not being in control, their inability to hold themselves without your help. That's why people start spinning when you go quiet. You didn't say anything. You didn't move. You didn't give them rhythm. And in the absence of rhythm, they confront their own noise. Most people aren't addicted to clarity. They're addicted to momentum, to motion, to the illusion that action equals power. But cold mind knows. The moment you stop responding on command, you stop being predictable. And when you're no longer predictable, you're no longer controllable. Stillness doesn't make you vanish. It makes you dangerous. You weren't taught to hold space. You were taught to fill it, even if it costs you your power. When you move first, you abandon your position. Silence makes you nervous, so you speak. Tension builds, so you act. Someone hesitates, so you jump in to fill the gap, and you think you're handling it. You think you're calming the moment. You think you're in control. But here's what's really happening. Every time you move first, you surrender your position. You just handed control to the person who stayed still longer than you. You broke rhythm because you couldn't hold the weight of no movement, no validation, no response. You weren't acting from power. You were escaping pressure. That's the loop. Tension appears. You feel the impulse. You act, just to release the discomfort. The frame shifts. They now lead the moment. And the worst part? They didn't even have to say anything. They just waited. Because stillness creates gravity, and the first one to flinch loses the center. You weren't out-argued. You weren't outmaneuvered. You were out-held. Cold mind sees it clearly. If you keep moving just to avoid being misunderstood, or to ease the room, or to close the gap, you'll always live in response to someone else's pressure. And they'll always learn, I don't need to dominate. I just need to wait long enough for you to hand me the frame. But when you stop moving, when you stop explaining, when you stop breaking silence just because it feels heavy, that's when they realize you're not a player anymore. You've become the board. Every time you react to fill silence, you confirm that you can be pulled. Stillness is the only proof that you can't. Three cold tactics to make stillness your strongest move. Most people use words to defend their position. Cold mind uses silence to define it. Stillness is not inaction, it's structure. It's the frame that doesn't move, even when everyone else wants you to. Here's how to make it your weapon. 1. Stillness breaks rhythm. Every manipulation, every power grab runs on rhythm. Say something vague. Wait for you to fill in the gap. Apply pressure. Watch you rush to fix the tension. But when you pause, say nothing. Hold your breath instead of releasing a response. You break the rhythm. Break the rhythm. Break the role they were playing. They stumble. They loop. They say more than they should. Because stillness interrupts the performance they were expecting to control. 2. Stillness creates gravity. The more still you are, the more the room bends around you. Not because you dominate, but because you refuse to chase. When others escalate, you ground. When they pressure, you contain. You don't speed up. You don't match tone. You hold your center until the moment realigns itself around your energy. That's not silence, that's mass. 3. Stillness forces exposure. People rely on your response to stay hidden. They count on you to overtalk, overdefend, overclarify. Because the more noise you make, the less they have to sit with their own. But when you stay quiet, they're left alone with what they were trying to avoid. Their words bounce back. Their logic unravels. Their discomfort has nowhere to go. Stillness becomes the mirror they can't avoid. And most can't handle that. But you don't have to manage it. You just have to hold it, long enough for the moment to reveal them. Cold stillness isn't emptiness. It's active restraint. And when done right, it becomes the strongest language in the room. You don't have to act stronger. You just have to hold longer, until their energy breaks around you. He said nothing. And that's why everything shifted. The accusation was subtle, but sharp. You've been different lately. Cold, distant, almost like you don't care anymore. Delivered with tone, loaded with expectation. Everyone at the table paused, waiting for the response, waiting for him to explain, soften, apologize. But he didn't. He looked, he breathed, and he held still. No justification, no emotional repair, no defense to fix the discomfort in the room. Just silence. Not avoidance. Positional silence. And that silence, it did exactly what it was meant to do. It broke the rhythm. The accuser expected energy, pushback, clarification, drama. Instead, they got a mirror. And in that mirror, they kept talking, repeating, filling the space he refused to fill. Until eventually, they exposed the motive. It's just that I don't know where I stand with you anymore. And I guess that makes me nervous. There it was. Not truth in the first sentence, but truth pulled out by stillness that never let the frame break. He didn't have to challenge, didn't have to explain, didn't have to correct. He held, and the situation cracked itself. Because cold stillness doesn't control people. It makes them confront themselves in the silence you refuse to fill. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't shift his posture. He didn't prove anything. He just held the moment until the moment cracked open on its own. Final message. Stillness is not absence. It's dominance without movement. You don't need to speak first. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to react just because the energy in the room is shifting. You just need to hold. Because stillness isn't weakness, It's compression. It's pressure built in silence. It's tension you didn't break. It's structure that says, I move only when I choose. Most people fill the silence because they're afraid of what it might reveal. But cold mind knows. Stillness is what reveals everything. It shows who's grounded, who's leaking, who needs constant rhythm to feel safe. And when you remove that rhythm, they reveal themselves. Not because you forced them, but because you refused to move. You don't have to dominate a room. You just have to be the one who can hold space longer than anyone else. That's not passivity. That's power under command. So next time they push, bait, or expect, don't speak. Don't flinch. Just hold. Let the room rewrite itself around your refusal to move. In the next video, we'll break open the real reason you overreact and why emotional blow-ups aren't about the moment, but about unprocessed loops waiting to explode. Subscribe. Don't break the silence. Let it break them.